I think I let them in. Yes, yes. Hello, hello. That's Irene.
Hey there. Let me
Hey,
just turn off my background.
Ali. Okay. Yeah. Let me ask you to unmute. Ask to unmute. Hello, Ali. Can you unmute? I'm asking him to unmute. And
What's
hello.
up, man?
Hey, how are you?
Good, man.
Good, good, excellent, excellent. You ran away, but that's okay. How are you, darling? Irene, I will refer to you as darling. You know,
I like it.
yes. I don't call penises darling.
Why not?
I don't know. Oh, this is the first time I've hosted one of these. I keep forgetting that there are people knocking on the door. Okay. And all right, awesome. There he is, emergency room doctor, savior of the unwashed masses. Sasan, speak so we can hear you. Unmute you.
Not yet.
Okay. Can you hear me
Okay,
now?
awesome. Okay, and if everyone can unmute, because I'm just gonna the rules are basically we're a small group, and I think two people, let's see, admit, okay, awesome. So thank you very much for coming, and I wanted to see if this could be like the beginning of an exercise in groupthink, because I think one of the wonderful things about everyone who's in this, who's here, and those that haven't joined us, is that we're really very creative thinkers, and we all see the world in our own slightly skewed way, and we definitely all add something to the party. You know, I'll kind of act as the host and moderator, but I really want this to be about you guys, expressing, as Pink Floyd said, your doubts and fears and more. Why don't we just go for it and see what happens. So essentially, I just kind of wanted to start with a quick recap of where we've been, what the market's kind of been happening in right now, and where we are, and what's potentially ahead. We all kind of experienced this GameStop clusterfuck. And, I'm sure a lot of people are still kind of experiencing what was that? Was that something? Is that something to think about? Should I take anything away from it? Blah, 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 all of that. In the theoretical, we can spend a lot of time talking about it till the cows come home, and we can all feel smarter, and we can potentially gain stuff from it. And, as an exercise, that has worth. But in terms of, are there things that I now need to consider because of that? No. In fact, the overarching takeaway is don't invest in shit. Okay? Do not be on any side of a shit trade. What is a shit trade? A shit trade usually is something that involves a company that is certainly worth less than $25 billion and always worth less than $10 billion. Unless you somehow find yourself in it for whatever reason, as was the happy accident with a couple of us who were in AMC before they got caught up in the GameStop shit. Great. That was very fortuitous. But if you see it happening, even if you thought about it, but it has started, do not try to get on. That's it. The train has left. That train has left. And, for the folks who are in this room right now, it's not even the kind of thing where you can be like, okay, well, I missed the run up in GameStop, but it's at 450 now, and I know that thing is going down. I'm going to buy puts. No, okay? For the foreseeable future, the people in this room, and in this, even in the larger group of 12, I would say there are two people who I feel very comfortable with taking like my most extreme positions and mirroring them. You know, everyone else, I send that kind of stuff out. First of all, I always include a warning. And second of all, it's basically as educational. Learn from this if you have questions to understand how to do it. But it's like you got to get like 6 months, so you got to get your feet under you and understand things. And it's part of the understanding, but there's certain things that, you know, even when your child is a genius, you're still not going to give them the welding equipment. You know, you're going to be like, okay, all of that. So the market has gone through its GameStop, blah, blah, blah. But this week has kind of been really what my text yesterday was. Hey, market looks like it's calm. We're going to make some money. And that's where we are right now. The market is in a calm, quiet place. A lot of this stuff has been laid out. You're not going to have another GameStop. The big point of friction right now is potentially what is the stimulus going to be, and in about a couple of weeks, earnings season will end, and there's always a vacuum. Not only is it nature that abhors a vacuum, it's the stock market that abhors a vacuum. You know, so there's like a couple of weeks where things can seem off kilter, which can create opportunities also. It's all a matter of perspective. So that's kind of the lay of the land. For the foreseeable future, this is a good time to enter positions, okay? Especially if you're building on already what you may have. Regardless of any blips, the market will be moving up long term. And when I say long term, I mean 6-9 months. You know, there's just so much runway and so much money. And, you know, what we really have to remember is stock markets thrive under Democrats. And that's where we find ourselves. So that's my perspective on things right now. And as I said, there's not many of us. So everyone unmute, everyone go. If you start to talk over each other, I'll be like, okay, hey, so-and-so, you go. So, ready? 1, 2, 3, you guys talk.
I'll start.
Okay, Irene.
So I am going to be entering some new positions shortly. I have, some money that I'm putting in that I want to allocate at some point. I'm trying to do some research and figure out what I want to go into. I have a few things in mind. And before I talk about where I'm considering entering, I do also want to state that I have 3 shorter positions that you know about with with Space, VSET, and IRDM.
You have what kind of positions?
They're like till June and July.
Right, they're shorter.
Months away.
Right, shorter option
term.
positions, shorter term. Right, yep.
Right, and so right now.
And by the way, everyone, if anyone says anything that you don't understand, please feel free to interject right then and there. Go on, Irene, please.
Okay, so right now, all 3 of those positions are well over 100% on my return on them. So I have started to apply stops on them. And the one that I think is most volatile is the SPCE one. So I think that one will probably get stopped out, like probably I would say sooner rather than later. So I'll have some more cash to put in. So number 1, I don't know if there's a general rule, but what I've done is apply stops at 30% below where it closed, approximately, just to give it room in case there's volatility.
Right.
Is there a better way of applying stops than that?
Is there 2? You said 1. Is there a second question?
Oh yeah, the second question will be about where I'm gonna be putting that money once.
Okay, right. So regarding where you put the stop, a lot of these things are really your personal threshold, and it's also like it seems you've already made the plan, you're gonna get out of this position, you're gonna be investing into something else. So you've already written the story, you're getting out of the position, okay? So you should decide that for you, it's all about finding the next position. That's going to be the trigger for when you sell this. So the approach can be, okay, I want to have a stop that's, if it drops that much, I'm still making a lot of money, but I'm playing it safe that, it gives me that cushion that it may not drop that much, and it gives me more time to find the next position, and it's appreciating, and that will maybe get me more of the next position, or might even change the position that I want to go into. Cool, awesome. Quick follow-up, like where you would put that in? What are some of your thoughts?
So that's the next step. So I've been looking into things about where I want to put. I was limited in the money that I had to put in initially, so I put in into an allocation that I felt comfortable with.
Right.
There are other interests that I had that I didn't enter because I just didn't have the money for everything. So a couple of the places that I was interested and still am, are the very basic, the like gold star ones, like Microsoft, Facebook, and Apple. I feel like those are probably are they still good positions to be in? I know your view on Apple. Always good to keep getting more Apple. So that one we don't have to go on. But Microsoft and Facebook, is it still
everything is a question of what you're willing to pay. That's what everything boils down to. I might look like I'll look at Facebook or like Google. I'll use that as an example. I'll look at Google and it's like I finally became a believer. I was like, you know what? Okay, I'm sold. So they're trading at around 2,000. I was looking at January 23, the 2800s, which were the furthest out. And it was an insane amount of money. So I was like, well, I can't buy Google. I'm not going to buy the shares at $2,000 a share because, I was able to somehow convince myself to do that with Amazon at over 3,000, and I can't bring myself to spend that kind of money on a per share amount. And at the price for options that they're asking, it's also too freaking much, Now, a friend of mine bought 3 Google options a couple of months ago. He's unfortunately not on the call with us because he's got little kids. He bought 3 contracts. For me, I'm like, I don't want to have 3 contracts. That's nothing. But on 3 contracts, he made $56,000, and that's real money. Right. But each one of those cost him quite a bit of money. So it's really, you have to find your own pain threshold. Those are great stocks, but sometimes they're not the right stocks at the right moment. All right, moving on. Next. Okay, I'm going to pick on you because I know he's got to go to work and save mankind. Sasan, go.
So a couple of things. I know that you like to stay with the kind of gold star companies. So, the Fanta companies. If I'm poking around and I see stuff that looks like it's going to do well, I know you think it's always better to get options, but if the equity is cheap, is there any reason not to just get equity? I know that if it goes in the right direction, the equity has the advantage that it'll go up, down, up, down. The option has the advantage that
what's the price? I'm not even going to ask you. I'm not even going to ask you what the stock is. What's the price?
I found like 10 things last night researching it.
What's the price?
Quiet it down a little bit. So, anywhere between $17 a share, I would say.
Okay, too much.
And then the option would be in the cents.
Too much. Yeah, there are certain stocks, like for instance, that Swiss pharmaceutical stock, it's 50 cents. Lloyd's of London, LYG, it's $1.83. Small stocks like that. Small stocks with real companies, but in that sense, yes. But if a stock even gets up over $5 or $6, unless for whatever reason you want to hold the stock, and if you listen to that Mark Cuban thing, there's really no reason to own a stock. Unless it pays you a dividend, you're not holding it for anything other than the appreciation. So why are you holding something that cost you this much when you can hold something that cost you this much, but that has this much punching power?
So then why do we have the Fanta equity? It may be a good idea for me to sell some of that equity and get it all in options.
Okay, you know what? Fanta was the starter. It was kind of what got you comfortable with stepping into investing. Okay? And it worked for you and a couple of other folks. For other folks, it was a step that kind of had to be bypassed simply because those stocks cost a lot of money. And to open a position in those stocks, by the way, Fanta, and I think I've told you what Fanta is, but just for everyone who's there. And Isaiah, hey, thank you very much for joining. I hope you're unmuted. Fanta is Facebook, Amazon, Nvidia, Tesla, Apple, and it's actually Fanta Plus, where the plus is a financial institution. And, but a lot of those stocks are very expensive. And if you're starting out with $20,000 to $50,000, you can't really open effective equity positions in those that will allow you to learn some of the lessons that I need you to learn in order to be comfortable taking on a certain level of risk while experiencing outsized appreciation. So that's why. Does that answer your question, home caller?
Training wheels, got it.
Exactly. You threw those fuckers off a long time ago, Sasan. I'll tell you that for sure, my man. Okay, next, Rob, go. You've been sitting there very, very patiently. Thank you.
Yeah, hey, so I got a question that kind of follows up a little bit on what Sasan is talking about.
Awesome.
Because I think I'm in a similar position as him, and I'm coming in a little bit later. I don't know how long you've been working with Vadim, but I've known Vadim for a long time.
Yes.
I've been working with him for less than a month. And a little bit of background on me quickly is that I primarily was in equities, wasn't trading options at all. So Vadim's kind of walking me through the motions, and I've got a small amount at this point, but my intention is to move more. So my question for you, Vadim, and following up on what Sasan is asking,
Yes.
is what is the balance of equities versus options that you would recommend for most investors? And particularly thinking in sort of our age group, Sasan and I, over 55, correct?
Right.
So somewhere near retirement.
Right.
What's your thoughts on that?
Right. I don't know if you had a chance to watch that Mark Cuban video, but it really is very much worth watching. Because what he keys on is basically there are two reasons to own stocks. One is for dividend reasons, because they pay you something. And the other one is because for whatever reasoning you've gotten behind to buy that, the appreciation. We all buy stocks because we hope to sell them for more later. The same thing applies to options. Now, if you treat options the same way the vast majority of people who are in options treat them, where what Irina referenced as a short-term options of being expiring in June or July, actually being so far out and so long-term for most people who trade options, because they're really buying the short-term ones, So for them, why would I own something? I'm in and out of these things all the time, but I'm not. I don't want to say I'm not. That's never my intention. The AMC options that I just sold, I bought them with the intention of holding them for 2 years. But then fucking shit happened, and I was like, wow, it's like 300 times what I thought was going to happen in 2 years. Why? What am I waiting for? Okay, hallelujah, let's go. I'm out, So it's, I don't know. For some people, it might be, my dad, he had the certificates, which you can still request be printed and sent to you. Unless you have a sentimental reason, I don't understand why you would not have reasonably priced long-term options instead. It's all about being reasonable in what your expectations are. I, for a very, very long time, would be incredibly unreasonable because I wasn't driven by, can the stock actually reach that? I was driven by, I've got this little amount of money. What's the largest amount of contracts that I can buy? So if a miracle happens, I'll make some money. And let me buy it for a month because, hey, a lot of strange things can happen in a month. no rationale, no nothing. Now everything that I'm in, I can certainly explain why I'm in it for whatever the rationale may be, and that's because I think, Rob, as you said, you just got into options, but I think you can see how much those have appreciated, and I'm pretty sure all of them have to some degree, versus how much the stock has appreciated, on that basis. And that's the whole thing with options versus equities, is that over time, I really genuinely believe you're taking the same amount of risk, because unless you are way beyond your strike price, there's no reason to hold it until the very end. Some of my big losses this past year were because I didn't hold it until the very end. I had Ubers that expired in January at the strike price of 50. Up until like December or November, it was trading like in the 40s and kind of wallowing, and I was tired of holding it. Plus, I had another set of Ubers that expired next year, so I was like, fuck it. Let me sell these, I'll take the loss, blah, blah, blah. I have these others, boom, doom. Then it caught fire at the very end. And I would have made money, woulda, shoulda, coulda, blah, blah, blah. Who cares? I didn't. Okay? I got tired. I felt, you know what? If I hold it any longer, it's going to end up being zero. And sometimes I don't care. When it's like 10,000 and now it's worth 2,000 and there's like a month and a half left, do I go, let me save the 2,000? Or do I say, let's see what happens? It's a 50-50. So that could have gone either way. For whatever reason, I woke up on the wrong side of the bed, whatever. I was like, I'm fucking tired of being an Uber. Boom.
So not really a percentage then, right? I mean, I think
No.
what you're saying is might as well be in options because you can make more money.
Yeah.
Is that true? Is that true in a static market as well? I mean,
Yeah.
The market, the market's been great the last couple of years. So what is your feeling if the market, and I don't see it happening this year, but if you expect the market to get a rate of return that's more in the like 7 to 10% range?
I don't expect. Okay, here's the answer. I always expect to outperform the market. Okay, because I do. Now, unfortunately, sometimes I outperform the market to the downside. And that happens also, but far less than the other way. And options will always outperform, because what happens is when you buy them long enough, even in a static market, and sometimes even better in a static market, the stock will catch a bump. They'll announce something. It's like what? Apple isn't going to announce something needle moving at least once a year. So even if it's moving sideways, at least once a year, it'll be boom. And that's the time where you go, okay, it kind of has been sitting still, and now I'm up 50%. I've got 4 months left. Do I want to keep riding it? Do I want to get out of it? Do I want to take some of it out of it? And those are all personal decisions. I can give you all sorts of benchmarks. I can give you all sorts of pithy sayings, but what the fuck's the point? It's up to you to pull trigger, and you pull trigger when you're comfortable, and that's it. Okay, cool. Let's go around and we'll see if we can get to new folks. Wesley, you're the newest member. What have you got? Let's hear what the next generation is thinking.
So, a little bit about me. I just got in with Vadim because I was texting him about some stuff going on in the market, and me studying economics in college. He's like, stop being the economist and get in the market. So I'm still trying to figure out where I want to go with this. But to go off the options and stuff, what's the shortest options you hold now? Like purchasing for the future?
Okay. Right now, I do have some very short-term put options, which are bets to the downside for instance, a stock that Irene mentioned, SPCE, which is Virgin Galactic. It's been running like crazy, so I bought short-term puts to, provide a hedge against retracement. But generally, when I buy stocks, I try to buy them at least a year, possibly 2 years out. I tend to like January expiration dates. It keeps it easier to, makes it easier to keep a track of. And then you just have to remember the year. You don't have to remember the month and the year. But sometimes I'll find myself in shorter term duration ones, largely because those are the only ones available and I've bought the furthest one out. Again, like what Irene said with some of the space stocks that we've recently been looking at and investing in. What else you got, Wes? Did that answer it? Or I don't know,
Yeah, that answered my
Cool.
question. I can't think of anything else off the top of my head right now.
All right, man, no worries. All right, let's go to our last guy, Isaiah.
Autumn, I gotta run, unfortunately.
Okay, I'm sorry, Sasan. Thank you so much for joining us.
I love you guys. Yeah, thank you for having this. It was nice meeting everybody, and I hope
We're
to see
gonna
you
do it
guys.
again, and hopefully at a time when you're not saving people.
I'm in.
All right, love you, my friend.
The inevitable, actually.
Yes.
Love you too.
Mwah.
Bye.
Yes. All right, Isaiah, go.
Hey, thanks for having me. Hope you can hear me well.
Yes.
I got a question about what's your feeling on taking out option contracts on OTC market stocks? Anything on the pink sheet so you can...
None of that crap. No, never, never. To be honest, my screens start at 10 billion valuation. And even then, I really have to be fucking convinced. AMC was just like a miracle because I bought into the story that was being told about a streamer possibly buying them, adding them to their value add. And I thought that was a completely believable story. And I somehow got into it, a couple of days before it got caught up in the GameStop shit. But normally, no. Normally, I believe there's so much money to be made in really companies that are 100 billion or more. That you can just totally measure your risk and really sleep easy and, buy 2-year bets. And, sometimes you just catch something where it's like, whoa, I was expecting 200-300%, but look at that, it's up several thousand. Shit happens. And you're still placing the same bet. And why not give yourself at least the opportunity to get long-term capital gains? That's why I buy 2 years out. So, hey, more often than not, I actually do hold it for a year. And then, you save a whole lot of money. So, hey, no to the OTC and none of that crap. You don't need to. Any quick one follow-up?
Well,
What's OTC?
Over the counter. Over the counter, it's like there are many different exchanges, and over the counter or things like that are really where it's sharks. There's a lot of sharks, and a lot of the time the people who are sharks just end up getting eaten by bigger sharks. So you're eating or getting eaten, but eventually you're getting eaten. All right, let's go around again. Wesley, did you come up with any other questions? Because we're going to wrap it up, but I know you only got one in. Do you have any others?
No, I'm good for this week.
Okay, awesome. Anyone else with anything else?
If you permit me a follow-up.
Okay.
So today I brought 2 equities to hold, right? I brought a Drive, ticker symbol DRIV for the autonomous vehicle, and IEMG, right? Emerging market, right? And so I'm thinking about
What is IEMG? Is that an ETF kind of thing, or what is that?
Yeah, those are both
Okay,
ETFs.
they're both ETFs. Okay,
Both ETF, IEMG, emerging market ETF.
right.
And so I'm looking at their calls right now, right? They have a 200 So ordinarily I'd be DTE 30 days, 29, but I hear your philosophy and it makes sense, extending out a year.
Right.
Takes the pressure off.
Yeah.
I totally dig that.
Yeah.
And so I'm looking at their calls right now. They got 225 days, 100. So I'm thinking about the calls.
Go the furthest out.
Yeah.
Go the furthest out. I mean, listen, the worst thing that happens is in a month, it's like, oh, that's dead money. Let me move it to something else. Whatever, Or you just test it out and be like, okay, hey, let me hold this one. Let me hold this one. I mean, look, my philosophy is also, hey, if it drops, but the story is still good, buy some more. Okay? If you're like within a couple of months of expiration, which for you might be like a couple of months, that's gigantic time. But for me, if I'm a couple of months away, I'm like, like the Uber thing. It's like, okay, I'm either up a chunk and it's like, do I want to start paring back, before the expiration? But usually if I'm up like a shit ton and it's not dropping, I'll just kind of wait, But if I'm under, then it's like, do I want to let it go to zero? Am I at the point where I'll just, maximize my capital loss, or what? But give yourself time, Don't worry about rotating the trades. You're not gaining anything by coming in first in frequent trader, class. So just, and my thing is, I don't need to find the obscure ones. Like, this is part of the group because a lot of people look for stuff where I'm like, no, I have no comment. That doesn't mean it's a bad idea. I just have no comment. I have too much shit on my plate. I'm happy to share what's on my plate, but I can't really put other stuff on it, But you guys can certainly bring it here and discuss it, and other people can validate and blah, 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 and you can, great, awesome. So that's, that's my dream. But, okay, so one last question to anyone, and then we'll wrap it up. Of course, feel free to send me any comments of any of this. And please let me know, like, if this format is cool, if you felt you got to say enough, if you want to maybe pre-send your questions so I can be like, okay, hey, first let me address blah, blah, blah. Whatever you think would make this better and value additive, that would be awesome. So last one thrown out there. Anyone?
Irene's got one.
Yeah, all I want to say is what I'd like as a suggestion for future calls. This is great, like for an intro call. I think it's good to like see where everybody is and where we're all starting out and kind of where our heads are.
Right.
But I'd like more ideas on like, what should we do with more money? Like let's talk about a company. Let's talk about positions. Let's talk about why.
Right.
That's what I'd like to see.
Well, okay, so that's up to each of you to bring, I mean, shit, if we've got 5-6 people here and you're each talking about 2 of that's 12 freaking things. That's a lot of shit to cover, Secondly, everyone's situation is different, different levels of money, different experience levels, all of that. And we don't really want to spend that much time. We want this to be information that's put out, as I like to say, on the highest denominator, not the lowest common denominator. We want to rise up, rather than, dumb the shit down, because none of us are stupid and we'd all get bored with that. So I definitely want you to bring the shit, bring the shit, because at these things, I'll be texting all of my stuff to you guys as I do. Yeah. So you'll know, and all of those will be like, hey, this is what I did. This is why I did it. So this isn't like an opportunity for me to recap that. It's not like, well, let's go over what I did so I can tell you again what I did. It's like, this is for you. If I can help address things, facilitate things, or otherwise, like right now, of people present here in terms of EV and environmental shit, I'm not the guy. But Rob is very knowledgeable in that area, and he can certainly shed light on things. Pharmaceuticals, Irene, awesome. Isaiah, I'm sorry, I'm just meeting you. Don't know where your strengths are. Wesley, even though he's a youngin', you got automotive questions, I'm sure he can shed light on stuff. And Ali, anything entertainment related. Okay, and one last time, because Zoom gives us 40 minutes. Anyone else want to go with anything?
Yeah, I'll ask a quick one because I was asked this question today by my wife, and so I'm curious what your thoughts are on the on airlines. They're certainly they're big companies. They've suffered a bit. They've gotten some financial help. We know what's going to happen. I think it was American or something is talking about their funding running out. Anyways, long-term position, or we'll say 1 year. What's your thought on airlines and the comeback of airlines as we pull out of pandemic? Any thoughts?
It's a very, very difficult.
You have holdings in American?
I actually got out of them like I think this week or last week because I was like, I don't need to be in this thing anymore. You know, there's something called enterprise value. And a lot of the time people look at that number and, you know, it sounds pretty good. Well, what's your enterprise value? And if you go, my enterprise value went from 10 billion to 20 billion, you're going to be like, fuck, that's awesome. You grew your enterprise value from 10 billion to 20 billion. But what that is also, it includes your debt. Okay? All of these airlines have increased their enterprise value tremendously by taking on insane amount of debt. Now, are all of them too big to fail? I don't know. Some of them are. Some of them are, you know? But while I think the government can see there being either a way to consolidate the airlines or if one of them goes under, it'll still be okay, they may let the market play out. But, you know, at this point, I don't even know. I either have sold my Boeings or I'm thinking of getting out of Boeing. And that was my all-encompassing airline play on a global level. You know, it's going to be a long, hard road. It's going to be a long, hard road for them. Business travel, that's a huge chunk of business that's the biggest question mark. It's not a question of how soon will it be to recover. It's more a question of will it ever? You know, and the business traveler was the one paying the premium fares. It didn't matter how much, I have to get there. You know, but here we are. We're on this, you know?
Yeah, and I think it's even the bigger question of when it will return, right? I mean, it's going to return. Business travel's going to return, but
I mean, look, everything is worth a bet. Everything is worth a bet. But the second question is, are there better bets that I can be placing with the money that I have? You know? There's always, if you've got enough, you can place a bet on everything. You know?
Can I give 2 cents on Boeing? Because I'm a holder of Boeing also.
Yeah.
And because I agree with you, you don't hold it unless it pays a dividend, right? Like I'm a holder of Microsoft as well. It get a good dividend there. But really, and I agree with you also, it's sort of undetermined if and when airlines will come back. But Boeing specifically, if they do come back, they have the most 737 MAX exposure, which has now been sort of approved by the FAA.
Until it crashes.
Online, right? So they're in a good position to sort of, if it does come back,
yes.
take advantage.
Yes. You know, there are certain stocks that every time I've been in them, the story looked really good and then I always got fucked. Boeing is one of them. You know, I'm on the second round of losing options at this point, you know, and, you know, I talked myself back into getting into GE, which has just been, you know, treating me like a prison convict for the last couple of years, you know, but I was like, okay, hey, I'll give it a flyer.
What made you do that? You mentioned that the other day, and I was curious, what prompted you to get back into GE?
You know, because I got tired of waiting. I got tired of waiting, and the last report, you know, they've just been climbing. It was like, I don't know, maybe it'll be like, ha, motherfucker, got you again, you know, where I just was like, okay, you really look like you've got giddy up this time. You're not going to fade back. You've got positive cash flow. Larry Culp, great CEO, blah, blah, blah. You know, even like their biggest analyst downer guy is kind of saying, well, there might be something to it. If they can get some of their major divisions going, one of which happens to be aviation. You know, if they can get that shit going, that'll be awesome. But that's why I'm giving it 2 years, and I essentially bought in the money calls. They're trading at like 11 and change. I bought January 23, 12 strike price. You know, so I'm there. Now I just needed to get a little giddy up. All right, guys, this was awesome, and I could keep going on. And I might even have to look into, can we extend the Zoom call limit, because once we have more people. Yeah, exactly. But awesome. This was terrific. I really enjoyed it, and it surpassed my expectations, and I hope you guys did too. So please send me as much feedback, and you know, we'll get the next one hosted like, you know, in a week or something, and you know, see what happens. Feel free to reach out to me at any time on an individual basis. I know, like you, Irene, said you've got money coming in, you're waiting for it to, you know, whatever, transfer, etc. I know other folks are also, if it's like, okay, I've got it, it's available, what should I be thinking about? Let me know, we'll have that conversation, you know, and we'll go from there. All right, guys, much love to all.
Post on YouTube.
Mwah. Yes, I will. All right, thank you, guys. Good night. Thank you very much. Thanks for showing the faith. Really appreciate it. All right. Much love to all.